Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Episode 4 of Loki is here, and this is my spoiler review of episode 4 of Loki. Wow, there were a lot of great things about this episode, and I think it got the show back on track. If you saw my review for episode 3, I didn't really like that episode, and I think this one is it just brought the show back on track, and I just really enjoyed it. If you haven't seen the episode yet, go watch it because this is a spoiler review. With that said, be sure to tell me down below in the comments, what did you think of episode 4 of Loki? With that said, let's get into my spoiler review. So this episode basically kicks off with like a flashback about Sylvie. We see how she was brought into the TVA and how she escapes. I thought giving just a little bit of context about her backstory was kind of good because we literally didn't know anything about her. And then we cut back to Loki and Sylvie in the Lamentus 1 planet that they were on, and basically the planet is about to get destroyed and both of them think they're about to die, so they're accepting their fate. Now for some reason they're getting super friendly with each other, and this leads to a variation in the timeline. So the timeline starts to divide and there's an alternate timeline being created. Now, according to the rules that they set up, this shouldn't be possible. I still do not understand why a variation in the timeline was created, because the planet was about to be destroyed. It's an apocalyptic planet. So if the planet is about to be destroyed, then there should not be a variation in the timeline. But for some reason, it happened, and I'm not 100% sure why. It doesn't make sense. Hopefully they address this plot hole in later episodes. Anyway, the TVA shows up, takes in Loki and Sylvie, and then we get into the good stuff. So I wasn't a fan of last episode because we really didn't get anything of the main plot. This one just quickly gives us a lot about the main plot, so I appreciated that because I really missed the main plot in last episode. And also, we see Mobius, of course, and I was so glad to see Mobius because he was another thing that I really missed from the last episode. So at one point in the episode, Mobius is interrogating Loki, and when that's happening, Loki suddenly tells Mobius that everyone working at the TVA are variants because Sylvie told him that. Mobius doesn't want to believe him because he's a Loki, but there's a part of him that tries to believe him, so he tries to go and do some digging on his own to find proof if that's actually true. And also you have Hunter B15 in this episode, and I really liked her in this episode. In the first 2 episodes I thought she was fine, but then she comes back here and I really enjoyed her here. So basically she also has some a bad feeling about the TVA, and basically she goes up to Sylvie at one point and asks her, because in episode 2, when Sylvie kind of took over her mind, she saw some memories of her own. So she asked Sylvie to show those memories again. And then Hunter B15 understands that basically she had a past before the TVA, and the TVA has been lying to them all along. And like I said, Mobius goes and does some digging on his own, and I really like this stuff. So basically Mobius is talking to Ravonna, I believe her name was, his boss. When they're talking, she asks him if he could go to any time and just any point in time in the timeline, where would he go? And he just says he doesn't want to go anywhere because he just likes working at the TVA. When Ravonna is not looking, he takes her TVA pad thing, and once he gets out of there, he looks in there for information about what Loki said. So when he's looking, he finds a video of Hunter C20, I believe her name was. She was the one that was basically kidnapped in last episode by Sylvie. When he looks in the video, basically C20 had memories before that, and she knows too much. She knows too much about what the TVA is doing, which is why they pruned her. So pruning is basically the stick thing that they use to vaporize people. So basically they vaporized Hunter C20 with that because she knew too much. Now Mobius understands that the TVA has been lying to them all along, so he believes Loki. So basically when he was doing all of that, he put Loki in a time loop thing where Sif keeps on showing up and just hits him. So he's basically in the same moment the entire time. I thought that was just a fun scene because we haven't seen Lady Sif in any movie in the MCU since Thor the Dark World. So I thought it was fun to just see her in this episode. So gets Loki out of the loop and asks him if he truly believes Sylvie. And Loki says yes, so Mobius goes, so I just have to believe the word of two Lokis. And then Loki says, I'm your friend, you can trust me. And once they get out of the loop thing, Ravonna is there and she notices that Mobius took her TVA pad thing. And once Mobius returns it, he tells her, if I could actually go to any point in time in the timeline, I would go back to the point in time where you got me before the TVA, before I was in the TVA where I lived. So clearly she understands, Ravonna understands that Mobius knows too much. So she uses the pruning stick and vaporizes Mobius. Now, to be completely honest, I thought Mobius actually died here. When I first saw this episode, I actually thought that Mobius died. And then, Ravonna takes Loki and Sylvie to the Timekeepers, and over there, the same thing happens to Loki. There's a big fight that breaks out, and Loki also gets vaporized. So I thought Mobius and Loki were both actually dead. I thought Sylvie was going to be the main character of the show now, because technically Sylvie is another variant of Loki. So I thought she was going to be the main character of the show. But then, of course, the post-credit scene undoes that because Loki is still alive. He's just in some weird place with a bunch of alternate versions of Lokis. Anyway, in that big fight with where the Timekeepers were, we find out that the Timekeepers are actually just androids. So basically, the Timekeepers really don't exist. And I thought this scene was kind of weird because the Timekeepers were talking in a weird way. The way they were talking, it sounded like robots, but I just went with it. I thought they were the real Timekeepers. And once Sylvie cuts one of their heads off, it's actually an android. It's like a robot. And I was actually tricked. I was tricked 3 times in this episode. When Mobius died, when it was revealed that Timekeepers actually exist, but they're actually androids. I was tricked then. And then, of course, when Loki died. So I thought this episode was really good. It took a lot of twists and turns, and it just worked perfectly well. The show just made a great comeback with this episode, even though I didn't like the last one. This is possibly my favorite episode. I'm not 100% on there, but once I rewatch the show, I'll know. But right now, this is possibly the best episode of this series. Time for my closing thoughts and theories. And for my theories, I think that Kang the Conqueror is behind all of this. He's basically controlling the TVA and the timeline because right now we don't really have any Timekeepers because all of them are dead and they're all androids. And my second theory that I have is that basically all these the people that are vaporized using the pruning stick things are basically sent to an alternate timeline. So alternate timelines do exist. There isn't just one sacred timeline, and everyone that is vaporized is sent to different versions and different timelines. And I think that's what happened with Loki. Loki, it looks like he was sent to a alternate version of New York, and a bunch of other Lokis are there. And I'm thinking, that's basically what I'm thinking is happening. So Mobius isn't actually dead. We're going to see him back, hopefully on a jet ski. But we're going to see him back. He's probably in another alternate timeline right now. We just need to find a way to rescue Loki and Mobius. So those are my theories. And overall, this was just a great episode. I really enjoyed it. And this show is going really well so far. If the show continues to be this good, this could end up being the best of the Marvel Disney Plus shows because I really enjoyed it. Be sure to tell me down below in the comments again, what did you think of episode 4 of Loki? If you enjoyed my review, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content. I'll see you next time. Bye.